Now comes the fun part, as in, I'm kind of happy. Oh, so here's the story. I first met Warren in Sebastopol, and he was sitting with his banjo on a haystack, I swear. Okay? And how was I to know that this Warren Hellman was, well, the chairman and co-founder of San Francisco-based Hellman and Friedman, one of the leading private equity firms in the country, and soon to be, if it's really true, Warren, if you're really doing this to yourself, the chair of the Jewish Community Endowment Fund. He's doing it to us, so it's a great thing. I was just there to play my violin. Well, no fiddle, I think I am to say, with him. We were to play traditional bluegrass music together, and we're inaugurating a chicken coop. Now, here I am before this wonderful group to introduce him to all of you. This is a man who needs no introduction. And no matter what he says, he might not be the best one, but he's certainly the most famous bluegrass musician in San Francisco. Ladies and gentlemen, here's Warren Hellman.
So I'm going to indulge myself for a minute. The gig that we were playing up there was the christening of a chicken coop. And many of you here know the guitar player in our band, better known as Nate Levine, who for years ran the Jewish Community Center. And Nate's sense of humor is a bit different from mine. And our bass player, who's also my assistant, is a very wholesome woman. And we do a song called Long, Skinny, Lanky Sarah Jane. And after it, I said, you know, Colleen, our bass player, isn't long and lanky, she's zoftig. And Nate turned to me and said, you can't say that. And I said, it's a compliment. He said, no, it means fat. I said, no, it doesn't. It means juicy. It means Rubenesque. So it almost broke our band up. So afterwards, I'll take a poll on whether you think that zoftig is a compliment or an insult. Anyway, to serious matters, Francisco, thanks for the introduction. I am a total fan of the Western Jewish History Center of the museum. It's probably the most important repository for the archives and material culture that document the life of the early Jewish settlers in Northern California and the Western states. And one of the things that always fries me when I'm back east or when you read books about the Jews back east, we never get mentioned. I mean, there were guys like Levi Strauss and I.W. Hellman. You know, they're better than the Lehmans and the Loebs, or at least they're as good. So, just two small anecdotes. One, our own history. I was at a table with a woman named Judy Wilbur, and Judy Wilbur was Judy Flood, and as you all know, the Silver Kings were Mackie Fair, Flood, and O'Brien. And we were seated at this table with a very upscale English lady who said, "Oh, you Americans are so cute. Tell me about your ancestors." And Judy said, well, my great-grandfather was a bartender, and Warren here has worked in a dry goods store. What about you? And she said, we have always been landed. So I don't know that Francis is going to mention, but we had a party once where I dressed up as IW. It's the closest I could ever come to being IW. And she handed me a note saying, don't walk down California Street. Is this okay, Francis? Were you going to mention this? You were going to mention it. No, I'm not going to step on your line. So the magnitude is ensuring, the MAGNES is ensuring that the stories of the Jews and their critical role in settling the West will be told and retold to future generations. When it moves to downtown Berkeley, it's going to enable a lot of cross-pollination with the scholars down the block at the university. Of course, what I care about is freight and salvage, and that's only a block away, so that's a more important collaboration as far as I'm concerned. You know, we'll have a whole klezmer section at Freight and Salvage. There will be a new gallery in the new MAGNES. It will create an interactive and engaging interface between the museum and the community, enabling all of us to go in and check out what our great-grandfathers were doing on California Street in 1895. But it's going to be a marvelous thing. I'm also extremely proud. By the way, I planted a cousin at every table, so if you're not polite. But our great-grandfather, Isaiah Hellman, who really was a visionary, his efforts and foresight gave rise to the Wells Fargo Bank. Thank you, Lisa. Launched California's powerful banking industry and built a dynamic new economy. He should have been known as the founder of our state, but in any case. Frances, my cousin, she early recognized the importance of sharing Isaiah's story. She's a journalist, former reporter for the San Jose Mercury News, a little further left than maybe I would have chosen. Her freelance work has appeared in the New York Times, People, San Francisco Magazine, and other publications. She has spent years working on a book called Towers of Gold, Isaiah Hellman and the Creation of California. It's going to be published in November by St. Martin's Press. It is the story of her my great-grandfather, the Pacific Coast premier banker in the late 19th and early 20th century, whose financial acumen, you can tell what I'm reading, whose financial acumen catapulted California into the modern era and laid the groundwork for one of the world's most dynamic economies. Frances got her undergraduate degree from Stanford. Oh, well. Go Bears. Where she got her degree in history and received a master's degree in journalism from Columbia. She is a vice president of the MAGNES, is active on its executive and collection committees, is the world's most difficult person to say no to, as I've learned from excellent experience. I'm nuts about Frances. Frances, could you come up, please?